Joining us now in the studio, Dave Sitton, one of the 4 Republicans running for Congressional District 8 in the upcoming primary. Dave, thanks so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure, Chris. Amy, glad to be with you.
A lot of people may know your name through basketball and other UA sports, but not a lot of people probably think of you right now as a politician. So after all these years in the broadcast booth, why get on the other side? Why run for Congress?
Well, it's interesting. I've had a broadcast career, but simultaneously I've had a coaching and business career. I've been involved in small business. Well, quite frankly, I've been involved with small business since I was 8 years old in 1963 when I started working at my parents' restaurant as a busboy. And I've had inclusion in the private sector ever since. So my friends and neighbors who know me during the day, so to speak, know I've always had a passion for this stuff. I am a bit of a historian at this school. Some of my favorite professors were my history professors here at the University of Arizona, and certainly politics as well. And quite frankly, like a lot of people, I am extremely concerned about the direction of our country right now. I'm afraid that we are straying from our constitutional base. I'm afraid we're straying from any type of adult analysis of what we can spend and how much we can spend. And I've got 2 daughters. I don't want to leave behind something that's going to put a burden on them that they do not necessarily need to have on them. Life is challenging enough. There's no reason to be making more challenges than we need.
And what, you're running against a couple people whose names have already been out there in the political realm. Jesse Kelley, who ran 2 years ago, and Frank Antinori, who's a sitting state senator. How do you sort of get yourself out there and get yourself known while there's maybe some names that people have recognized in the political arena before?
Well, having been involved with sports for a long time, whenever there's an issue, you go back, every coach will tell you, go back to fundamentals. And the fundamentals are making yourself available to people who want to know more about you, which includes me walking streets and neighborhoods, which I do, having an opportunity to visit with people like you, visiting with people who actually care about the campaign, and for those in my campaign who are savvy, getting me in something called social media. And I don't want to sound like a dinosaur, but they're getting me in there out in front on all this stuff. And last but not least, taking advantage of traditional media. And right now we've got a television commercial that's just begun, and we're just going to go at it full guns ablaze on how to bring a message to people in southern Arizona.
This is such a compressed campaign, the one for Congressional District 8. What made you decide to run for 8 and not just say, leave 8 alone, I'll run for 2, I've got more time, and things like that?
I think it's several reasons. And one of them may sound a little bit ironic to you, and that is that I am not aware of anybody who is comfortable with the fact that we're having this special election. Let's address the obvious thing right here. One criminal act took the lives of innocent people and changed this district. This district has gone without fault, without representation for a while. Congresswoman Giffords was well known for her constituent services and serving this area. Now, regardless of my position and Gabrielle's position on specific issues, we do know that the congressman was a representative of the district. We need representation as quickly as possible. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to jump into 8, which of course transitions into 2. And quite frankly, it's not exactly a secret that 8 has more Republican voters in it than will the new 2. So I believe that if someone is successful in the 8 race, it will just enhance their possibilities in the race for 2.
Now, on that same note, if someone is not successful in 8, if you lose the primary or you lose the general, does that hurt your chances running again in 2 in the fall? You
know, there are so many scenarios there. It's kind of like saying what happens in the second half. We're not doing the first half of this game, and I don't want to use a bunch of sports metaphors today, but the fact of the matter is right now the focus is on winning 8. And so there are a variety of factors that would mitigate decisions about 2, but we're not close to those yet. Hopefully we get a win in 8, and then we'll have a specific set of options.
You've come out with a number of plans, 3 of them now, 10-point plans. What's your top priority, assuming you get elected?
Well, the reason for if you don't mind, let me explain, Chris, why there are plans. Is that I believe at 57 years old and studying this stuff for a while, I think voters have had enough of people exclusively explaining, or politicians saying, this is what I am against. we are prepared to say these are things that we favor. And if you want to take a shot at it, fine, but this is where our heart and soul really lies. And quite frankly, the other thing I'm very proud about these plans, it's not because my campaign or I are so self-assured that we don't think we need help. These plans are based on the suggestions from over 200 business people, 200 business people that I do know personally that have signed on to this campaign who regularly give us their thoughts and their wisdom. I've been here for 38 years. That's why, unlike my other very worthy competitors, I will have 200 people, and I'll probably get to 300 businesses before we even get to the primary, of people who have confidence in me over the years being a part of this community and never asking about your political persuasion. Let's just do the service that's involved. And that's what I've been doing here for those 38 years. So as a result, we're trying to do representation of the district as best as possible with citizen input, because I am not a professional politician. I am in the classic request for citizen participation, citizen legislators. Now, to answer your question, the top three are border security, they are jobs, 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 and jobs, and finally, a resolution of this new quagmire we have called Obamacare.
So how are they getting put together? Do you have committees who are putting them together? Is your input in the plans? Who does it reflect?
Ultimately, I sign off on every one of these. But it also reflects our ability to listen to local experts, the wisdom that has been accumulated by decades of service in this community, not just from me, but colleagues of ours in this. And not just mine, but yours too. People who have lived here for a long time, who have been successful, have suffered through difficult times as well as the boom times through here, and know something about the district. And those are the people who are advising me.
Let's talk a little bit more about your background. Three of your opponents have military experience. You're wearing an F-35 pin on your lapel. Talk a little bit about, is that a disadvantage for you not having military experience, or in this case, does it not matter?
A couple of points, Chris. I have one flag officer is on my committee, retired Lieutenant General Robert Johnson, United States Marine Corps, Lieutenant Colonel Benny White of the United States Air Force, and Colonel Kent Lofbaum, former commander out of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. These people have been with me and have known me an awful long time, and they were very quick to recommend I get into this. I salute my three competitors. It seems like we're debating so much they've become companions. But my three competitors have all served admirably in their United States services. But what I've been encouraged is that is not a prerequisite for holding office. It's quite frankly, as we take a look at the composition of our military, roughly 2.7 citizens are in uniform for the United States right now. That's going to go down, unfortunately. But it's less than 1% of our population serves at any one time. I have been a member of the DM50 for a long time. I'm on the board of directors of Honor Flight. I'm on their board. I've actually accompanied people in their 8th and sometimes 9th decade to Washington, D.C. to see the monument. Boy, I tell you what, an enthusiastic group that is. And then I've been the honorary commander of the 55th Rescue Squadron, part of the 563rd Rescue Group out of Davis-Monthan. And I've been heavily involved with military and supporting military to the extent I had a radio show that I've had to suspend for obvious reasons, fairness doctrine, supporting the military. I was close to being a Marine, and it was in the fall of '74, just before we left Saigon. I already had shoulder operations, and they said, no thanks. So that was my attempt.
Now, as we said, you've got your 10-point plans on border, jobs, and health care. Mm-hmm. Which one is most important to you, and why? Well,
that's a very difficult question, but we all get that this country, the majority of Americans of all parties understand that we can no longer spend into deficits. So we know that's a very important issue. It's a very important national issue. Part of that, a subset of that, is this wildly dysfunctional medical program that we now find by the OMB, by the administration's own admission, is now going to cost double what they projected. That's just come out in the last few hours. But unique to this district is, and some of our fellow border states and border counties and border districts, is the fact that this border has become so wild that Americans who have placed their lives and their fortunes and their pursuit of happiness in private property, in ranches around our border, are now sleeping armed every night. Where a rancher may have had a 12-gauge sitting by the front door like in the old ranch days, the old farm days, now they're armed and packing 24 hours a day because the federal government, both parties, and this is a problem I have with the federal government, is that we need to be Americans first, party members second. So I'm prepared to say that both parties have let this border collapse to such an extent that, one, we are not protecting American citizens and their assets, their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We already know that one rancher has been killed. I don't want to see another. Second issue is this, is that the people who perpetrated 9/11 and their errors are not finished. If people are prepared to steal aircraft and take out the assets they did in the Pentagon, their plan to do the same to the United States Capitol, which was thwarted by American heroes, and finally to those two towers in Lower Manhattan, they're not going to stop when they see opportunity. Please, I pray that it has not already happened. But with a porous border that nobody knows between the narco-terrorists, the extraordinary militias that are engaging in narco-terrorism, the amount of drugs coming up, who knows what weapons of mass destruction, compact size, could come in to our country.
Dave, thanks so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure to see both of you.